so here's a Windows machine, and I'm doing this project, OT100. Okay. So you have to install some software. First, you have to install Java, the Java Development Kit, and then you have to install the Modbus Slave Simulator, and then later on we will install the Modbus Master Simulator. And I've already got all that stuff installed here, so I'll just show you how it works. So the Slave Simulator, you launch from a command prompt. Let's see if I've got one open. I do. Good. So you do it here with it's just Java minus jar, and then you go to this file you downloaded, Modbus PAL, and run it. So this will run a endpoint device, which is called the slave, which is the one connected to the hardware, and it acts as a TCP server listening on a port. So that's kind of backwards. It's a TCP server, but it's acting as the endpoint device, which you could call the slave, and it's listening on a default port of 502. Now we have to create a slave, so we add a Modbus slave device, and I'm going to call it number 2. You have to give it some number to identify which one it is. All right, so I add that, and now I want to put data on my slave. So I open the I, and there are two kinds of data, registers and coils. The registers have 16-bit values, and the coils have Boolean values. So I will add 5 registers, and there they are. They start out with values of 0, and I will add 5 coils, which also start with values of 0. And in real hardware, these would be connected, to turn on devices and make adjustments in equipment. So there's the coils. Now we're going to run the master. Okay, and the master is in my downloads folder. Let's see if I've got, good, I do have one open. All right, so all I had to do is download it and unzip it, and there it is, qmodmaster.exe. And here it is. Now, to connect, I had to do options, Modbus TCP, and notice the other alternative is RTU, so that is a clue about the question that a student asked earlier, what did they use before they used Ethernet? So we're going to go to loopback address on port 502, which is fine, and I have to make sure the mode is set to TCP and not RTU, and now I should be able to connect. And connection failed. That's annoying. Let's see what I did wrong. Options, TCP, 502, all right. And here, let's go to RTU, and then back to TCP to make sure it takes effect, and connect. Still doesn't connect. Okay, let's see what's going on here. If I open Resource Monitor, I can find out if that thing is listening. Perhaps I forgot to start it or something. Search is not working for some reason. Okay. All right, here's Resource Monitor. All right. And here's network ports. And listening ports. Okay, and 502 is not listening. Okay, that's the problem. I've somehow fouled up the setup of this thing. Perhaps I need to, oh, it's not running. Okay, that's my fault. Now it's running. Okay, it has to be running to be listening on 502. Now I should be able to connect here. And I connect. Okay, good. All right. So, now we can read and write to the device. The default option is read coils, 5 coils. And so if I hit the read write button, it reads the data from the client. And as you remember, they're all zeros. In fact, let's inspect that again. There you see the coils are all zeros. Now I'm going to write to the coils. If you write single coil, I'm going to write 1 coil, and what I'm going to write there is a 1. So I type in 1 and click out of there to make sure it takes effect. So that should write. And see, it did. It changed this value to 1. And now if I read the 5 coils again, now I get a 1 there. So that's what you can do. You can remote control it from the master device. Now that we've done that, we want to look at the network requests that did that. So let's run Wireshark on here. Probably have it already installed if I can figure out how to make this thing work. Oh, there it is. Good. All right. And this is local host traffic. So you use the loopback adapter. All right. And now let's just do a read request. That would do. It's already set up for a read request, so all I have to do is hit this button. And there we go. You get to see what a read request looks like in Wireshark. I'll stop this, and here's how it looks. You get a query and an acknowledgement, and then a response, and then an acknowledgement. And the query has Modbus here. Let me see if I can make this font bigger. I think there is a way to do that. My main font and colors. Main window font. Let's make that bigger and see if that helps. Yeah, all right. So anyway, you get here's your query, and here's the Modbus TCP we're apparently using. Again, implying there is some other kind of Modbus that doesn't use TCP. And here it is sending a function code of read coils. And here's how many coils to read, how many bits to read. And here's the response. Again, I'm going over Modbus TCP, and here it is reading 5 bits. So the thing to notice here is the traffic does not include any authentication or encryption. So if you can sniff the network, you can just totally see what's happening, and obviously you could just change these values. Just send in a data, writing something to those coils, having some effect on the equipment. That's the fundamental problem here. And if we have Metasploit, you can use Metasploit. Let me see if I already have it on this machine. If not, I may have to add it. Terminal, run as administrator. Okay, let's see if I have MSF console. I don't. All right, I have to put Metasploit on here. So I need to go to metasploit.com and put it on. First, I better make sure my Windows Defender is disabled because it will freak out. Virus and threat protection. Okay. And of course, as stated in the project, you shouldn't do this on a machine with like personal data, but on a machine you use for like malware analysis, because I'm going to put an exclusion on. And I've already done it. I've excluded the entire C drive, so the antivirus is not going to do anything. So all I need to do is go to Firefox and go to metasploit.com. And get the Windows version, perhaps this. Windows, silent installation. Get the latest Windows installer. There we go. Okay. Looks pretty friendly. Okay. Is an executable file? Yes, that was the idea. All right. Well, this is somewhat disconcerting. Okay, I guess it's going to move now. All right, next. Install. Okay, good. Much better experience than it used to be. Ended prematurely because of an error. Oh, I remember this. I've been here a million times. You have to get it, and then you have to run it from the command line. You can't run it from the graphics. I remember that. I always knew there was something unpleasant about the Metasploit installation experience, and it looks like it has not changed. Right, you have to go into here, into Administrator Command Prompt or Terminal, and go to Downloads, and do a directory of met star.star, make sure it's there. There it is, and so now you run it from there. There, this should do it. It doesn't seem to be smart enough to correctly escalate to administrator. And I think this pause is okay, although a bit disconcerting. Before I clicked around to make that thing stop complaining, and maybe I have to do that every time, I don't know. Yep, looks like clicking around is necessary to get past that spot. Let's see. This is always the case with people that write software for Linux and then imperfectly port it to Windows. All right, so now it's theoretically in there. Let's see if I can go to my administrator window and do MSF console. Well, I have to close this and reopen it for it to get the new shortcuts, probably. The new path variable. MSF console. Whoops. Well, how very rude. I think it did install Metasploit. Perhaps it needs a restart or something annoying. Maybe it really didn't install. Well, I might just have to talk about this part. It looks like Metasploit is giving me grief. Not too surprising that it'd give me trouble with Windows. Let me just talk about the steps from this point on, because they're not that exciting and they're very much similar to your pen testing. So once you get Metasploit working, then you can search, and there are a bunch of Modbus attacks in Metasploit. And the simplest one is the one that finds unit ID to search for slaves. It's just a scanner. As you can imagine, it's very simple. It just has to send a request to the slave IDs and see which ones reply. And so you can do it, and it will just try the first 10 IDs and tell you this one, station ID 2, is in use, and the others are not in use. So you can use Metasploit if you like to scan the network and find active slaves. And then you can read data from the slave too, from Metasploit. See, it gets the 5 values, and I'm sure you can write to it too. It's all very simple. All right, and you can use Nmap, by the way. Nmap has a script, Modbus Discover, and it will discover that you have a Modbus server running on the box. That's all I wanted to show you. So that gets you started, and I got more projects, and I'm still writing more. How about running on an ARM64 Linux? Maybe, but I don't know about these emulators. But what you could do is you could run these emulators on Windows and then scan it from Metasploit from another box, because that would work too, I think. We're going to hit this in all the projects. These emulators have Windows versions that are sort of buggy, and so we're going to have to mix Windows and Linux boxes to find good solutions. All right, I'm going to stop this.